What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for Namm 2020. We are at the House of Blues for Metal Allegiance. We are here with Jason Bittner. Thank you for your time, man.
You're welcome. Heavy New York. This is totally appropriate.
Yeah, right? Invading California. I got to tell you, interviewing Bobby just now felt like a breath of fresh air. People in California are too friendly to get a couple middle fingers.
That's
that
true.
made me feel at home.
That's true. He'll give you two middle fingers. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Yep, exactly. From Dirty Jersey.
Two Jersey middle fingers. Exactly.
But one thing I wanted to ask you is because The Wings of War, the latest Overkill record, was your first time with the band. So were you looking at like the previous catalog for Overkill and being like, this is how I have to play? Or did Bobby and the rest of the band kind of want you to bring a little bit of your own mix to Overkill?
It was pretty much they wanted me to be me. I'm always, it doesn't matter what band I've played in. I mean, with the exception of Shadows Fall, because that really was my band and it was really only one record prior. There was no one to really emulate after. And no offense to the drummer who came before me, but he was terrible. In Shadows Fall, I'm talking about. So there was really nothing to have to go from. Yeah. But when I played in Flotsam, everything was based off of what Kelly had done before, and I came in to be like, kind of like add my own thing to the band, but to keep the spirit and the sound of the band the way it was before I joined. That's any band I've played in. If I have to join as a member to fill in or whatever, I want to make the people who are listening think it's still the same guy playing. Like when I filled in for Anthrax, for example, I played everything note for note, close to Charlie as possible, not doing my own thing because Charlie's drum parts were awesome. So you do what the fans want to hear. With Overkill, there's a history with me and the band. I mean, I've known these guys since the early 90s.
Bobby was calling you the kid. He said he saw you with the stick.
He used to call me Sticks all the time. Sticks, what's up? So I've known these guys for so long, and I grew up on Overkill. I know all the drummers personally, except for Rat. Everybody else after that, I'm friends with. I know their drumming. I respect all their drumming. I play the parts as close to the way they were all played, all the drummers. And every once in a while, I throw my own little thing in here. Things get more comfortable as you gel with a band more. But as far as the record goes, we had a year almost of touring together before we before we wrote and recorded the record. So it gave us a chance to gel as a band. It gave us a chance for Dee Dee to lock in with me and know in his head what I was capable of doing when he was going to start writing demos for the next record. So once we got to the demo phase, he was like, you're really going to like this stuff. There's a lot of room for drums. I'm like, awesome. He was writing riffs with, things in mind of the things that I can do and stuff like that. That's what he was telling me. So that was awesome, just to be welcomed in that manner. There was never any play it like this, do this. It was always like, here's the demo, come up with what you think, and send it back and let us know. So every time I sent something back, it was usually like, this is awesome, keep it coming. And the only negative part was there was a few times where it was like, all right, you've got way too many ideas. Let's just chill for now and wait till we get to the studio. So it was a great process. It really was. Yeah. Very comfortable.
Being a drummer, one thing I was curious about is, do you sometimes lay down the rhythm and the beat and then the rest of the band writes riffs and melodies and all this over that? Or do you need music before you start laying down your part?
It varies. Like with Overkill, the songs are pretty much demoed out beforehand, like with either a drum machine or like, just something to know what the feel of the song is going to be. There were a few occasions over time, like with Shads, where there was something that I came up with first that actually spawned the song. Still I Rise off the Redemption album is a perfect... No. The album Redemption. Oh, okay. You're getting confused with... I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. I'm retarded. I don't even know my own band. I meant to say the album Retribution. Redemption, Retribution, whatever. The one that came before the last one. The song Still I Rise off the album Retribution was literally started off a drum part. It was just something that I was fooling around with one day at practice, and Paul was like, that was pretty cool, and just put a bass rhythm to it, and then the rest of the guys got to practice, and 3 hours later we had a song.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And the final question I wanted to ask.
Very rarely does it happen off a drum beat.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now, the final question I wanted to ask you is because I feel like your drumming style is very versatile. You know, playing with Flotsam and Jetsam and Overkill and like, you know, a bunch of thrashy bands, but like, you know, on The Shadows Fall, I mean, going back to Threads of Life this time, you know, to play a song like Redemption, but then also play a slower song like Another Hero Lost or something like that. So when you're playing like a slower song versus the most aggressive song, I'd imagine that it's almost kind of like a different energy and a completely different strategy.
It is a different energy, and you know, to be quite honest with you, and not even like something like Another Hero Lost. I mean, I do tons of session work and other bands and stuff like that, and I have a project back home that I did a record with a couple years ago, and we're getting ready to do another one soon, called Coconut Donut, and it's just like the 70s prog rock kind of like mellow kind of stuff, but it's very simple drumming. 4-piece kit, 2 cymbals and a ride, no double bass, no, just stuff that you would not expect me to be playing. You know, some songs with brushes, hot rods, stuff like that. And you would think something like that would be something that's easy to do in the studio. And things like that are just as hard to go in and play and not beat the hell out of the drums and let it breathe and play lighter and keep things under control and not do crazy fills and stuff. Some of that stuff is just as hard to do as playing the fast stuff and the more difficult stuff.
Yeah. Well, I actually interviewed Buck Cherry, and they said that sometimes it's harder to play a slower song because, especially like if you botch a note or slightly go off beat, right, your keister's left hanging in the wind.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today. Yep, it's going to be a kick-ass show. Is there just anything else with Overkill you'd like to promote? I know that Bobby plugged the tour with Exhorder. You're coming to Montclair with Demolition Hammer, which I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to. I love Demolition Hammer.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Epidemic of Violence is one of my favorite records from back in the day. I used to play drums to that all the time.
Yeah.
That whole first side, man.
Yeah. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote for any of the projects that you're in?
Well, like Bobby said, the tour kicks off February 26th here. Yeah. At the House of Blues, Anaheim, which is funny. And aside from that, you know, like I was saying, I got that little project going. I've got another record coming out sometime this year. Band called Dark Day Sunday. It's me, Mark Lopes, who's the singer in Rasta Boss Band, and Frank Aresti, who was the guitar player in Fates Warning for years.
Oh, wow.
And our friend Ed Lanuet on bass. And it's some pretty intense thrash. It's just some really fucking awesome shit. Awesome. And that's going to hopefully see the light of day this year. We're finished with drums, guitars, and bass, and I think now we're waiting for Mark to start vocals, but we'll see what happens with that. And then there might be some other rumblings with another band.
I'll ask off
when other people have time to do it. So
awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much. Everybody, Jason Bittner of Shadows Fall and Overkill. Be sure to pick up The Wings of War if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.